News fuck.
Oh wow!
Probably some shit from.
How do you not have more than one pair of headphones?
Was that Chris?
Yeah. Anyway, hey there, beer tubers. A sec here. I put myself front center StreamYard shit. Yeah. Fine. Anyway, hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to what sort of beer analysis 101 tonight, but we're doing something different. We're doing something different tonight. We're calling it beer. Bring your own beer analysis 101. BYOBA101. Original name. Original name, maybe not, but we're calling it that anyway. So tonight what we're doing is we're taking a beer out of the cellar. Everybody on this panel has a different beer out of the cellar, and we're crack them open and drink them, then tell a story about where we got the beer, etc. Just like beer analysis normally is, except for one by one. Yeah, screwed up that intro. Got distracted.
One.
Right. All right, 101.
By one.
Right. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to introduce each person one by one. We have a total of me plus 6 others here tonight, starting with Chris. Off the 10th, what beer did you bring tonight?
Oh, hello. Thank you for letting me join your wonderful show, sir. Today, courtesy of Jamie, the Basement Broham, we hooked up at Merit Brewing, and then we went for a little bit of a beer run or whatever to different breweries up in Hamilton. So he was kind enough to pass me a bottle of the barrel-aged Rat Queen with vanilla today. It's an Imperial Stout coming in at 11.5% alcohol by volume. It's in a 500 ml bottle. So I'm pretty stoked to try this one. I have never had this version. I've had the regular Rat Queen, but I have not had the vanilla. So that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Nice. All right. And let's move over to Lee. What are you drinking tonight?
All right. So I only had 2 things in my cellar. And originally these were for a cellaring project. But I was looking at the bottle and I was like, you know what? The bottle's like, you should save me. You have the cellaring project going on. And I'm like, no, but Nick's really blowing this shit. And the show's really gone downhill, and we really need something special to bring this back up. So I've got my Fuller's Vintage Ale 2017, and that's what I'll be drinking tonight.
Cool.
You're welcome.
Yummy.
All right. So, what are you drinking tonight?
So I am bringing, this was gifted to me as well. Not by Jamie. This one was gifted to me from Hubert. So tonight I am drinking a beer from Coonins. This is the bourbon barrel aged barley wine ale, 2017. There we go.
What's your ABV?
Oh, it's down here. Well, that is a to be determined.
Really? What was yours, Lee?
8.5% alcohol by volume.
We'll call this like 13-14%. I don't know.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think those are like 13 and a half.
All right.
There we go.
Let's move on to Mr. Redbeard. What do you
Thanks for having me. I actually didn't have anything cellaring, but randomly my buddy Andrew, who works for Stack Brewing, was in Toronto at Blood Brothers, sent me a text letting me know he was there, and I was like, I'll send you money. So we got me a selection of beers, and one of them happened to be barrel-aged. This is a bottle of weirdness. It's a barrel-aged wild ale with fruit skins. I really don't know. It's only 6% alcohol, so... But, yeah, it had a wax top and stuff, and I thought maybe it would be interesting to try.
What's the name of it? Fall of Thebes?
Fall of... I'm not sure that's like a mythical type Roman... No,
that was Thebes. That was... Or Thebes. That was... what's that ancient Egypt...
Is that what that is?
I think that was
yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Looking forward to it. I've had a few of their beers at this point, and they have yet to disappoint, so good times.
Okay. Greg, what do you got tonight?
Oh, hello, Nick. How are you today?
pull out of your cellar that you hooped from your parents' place or whatever?
So I actually went. I don't have to hoop it. Jesus, Nick, I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your parents, but anyways, so I'm actually did bring something out of my cellar. It's from 2015, and oh, it's shocking! Look. Oh, it's a double tempest. Isn't that exciting? And this is legitimately cellared. It's got, hold on, where's the camera on this thing? It's got rust on the cap. So this is after I took the wax off. There's a whole bunch of rust on it, so I might get some sort of poisoning from this.
Nice.
And I won't even get to really taste it properly because I'm sick. So I'm probably gonna die for no good reason tonight.
I like how Nick says "nice" after you say you may die from it. Or get
Yeah.
Listen,
Nice.
at least Nick is honest. Also, I want to say I'm very proud of Ashley Sexton. I know he hates Americans and all things American, and he's drinking American beer. So good for you, Ashley, for getting over your prejudices.
Yeah. Bigotry is hard to overcome.
That's terrible. I don't hate Americans.
Not now.
Not that we have an
Not
American
anymore.
on the panel.
Oh God.
All right, add in here and say, what did you bring? He's probably got something for like 12 years old or something. Is it?
Well,
Tom?
no. Here's the thing, though, because I didn't know when I was going to get out of work today, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving early, so I skimmed through the Facebook group, and I thought this was a Chimay Red episode. So I stopped at my local. Like just tap place to get Chimay Red, and just so happens it's 2.5 years old. So I picked this up about 15 minutes ago, and it's 2.5 years old. So it's from my cellar down the street. So there you go, Chimay Red.
Nice. All right, and let's get over to introduce the stuff that I brought tonight. I've had this beer for a couple of years now. It is a 2016 bottle of Brewery's Autumn Belgian style brown ale brewed with yams, molasses, maple syrup, and spices. 10% ABV. Good, because I need to get drunk tonight.
Oh boy.
Fun fact, Nick, there was one of those actually on the shelf at the same place. What's that?
Like one of the 20.
I don't know the year, but it was it's an older autumn maple. That would have been funny if I picked it up.
Oh, nice. All right, so let's go cycle. Actually, you know what? Do we have any comments? Who wants to read them? I'm going to take Matt back out to put Ashley back in because he usually reads them. Oh, you're muted.
No,
Ashley,
he's so interesting. I love Ashley.
Muted.
He's so articulate too.
Right now?
Okay,
There you go.
easy. Calm down, Redbeard.
What?
I don't even have YouTube open right now. Sorry, I can't read comments.
I can read comments. All right. So first off the 10th says, hurry up, Nick, which you didn't do. But Eric Gilbert says, cheers, cellar dwellers. And off the 10th asks him what he's drinking. And he says he's drinking a Vitus.
Or wine Stefaner.
I guess. Whatever. So I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, it's like the wine Stefaner's Doppelbock or Weizenbock.
Oh, okay.
Which is good. I've had it before. All right, let's bring it back here. And I guess we can go back to the top and we can introduce Chris, who tell us a little bit more about how you acquired your beer and do you have any history with drinking this before?
I have no history drinking this one in particular. And like I said, when I first came on, I did get this one from Jamie. And I've already cracked my bottle, and it just looks fucking so delicious. I took a sip already, and this is going to be a sipper. Like, this is fucking...
I'm just putting this out there because I seem to remember something. Didn't we have that specific beer at the bottle share at your place?
No. Not. I don't think we had the vanilla version of it. We had the first one, the base, I believe. Jamie might be able to answer that question. I can't remember. But
in the chat.
if he's watching, I'm pretty sure we didn't have the. I think I might have asked him when I got the bottle from him. I think I said, "Is this the one we had at the
No, because
on
we
the tent
drank
hangout, the fucking bottle share?" And he goes, "I don't think. No, it wasn't that one." But anyway, so I'm enjoying this one so far. But I guess we'll talk about everyone else's beers now. Thanks.
Yeah, second.
If I log out by accident, it's because I'm taking a picture of this fuck. No, I'm going to use my other camera. Never mind.
All right, Mr. Vintage Cellar Beer Fever. What's your take on this?
So I pretty much get this every year now because it shows up at the NSLC pretty much every winter is one of the sort of winter seasonal special things that you can pick up or whatever. You know, it's much more attractive than buying like you can buy the Stella Artois giant bottle in glass gift pack. Like, who the fuck wants that shit? So yeah, I picked this up. Like I said, I picked it up a couple of bottles of it for a cellaring project. You guilted me into destroying that cellaring project because you were like so sad that your show on vintage and cellared stuff was going to be shit unless I brought this in. So that's what I did, and yeah, get to my thoughts on it later. But yeah,
Sure. All right. Move on to Mr. Ashley, Sexy Tone. I gotta
What?
Sexy tone.
Sexy tone.
Sexy Tone. All right. So I think you said you got this from Ewart.
Yeah, so this was gifted to me by Ewart. This was part of the beer mail he'd sent me a few months back. That included another Kunin beer, their Trippa, and also a Pliny the Elder. So he was very gracious to gift those to me. So yeah, I've only ever had one other beer from this brewery before, and you know, I've had a few barley wines in my life, not too many to be completely honest, but I do try to, you know, this time of year I do try to find a few of the bigger beers and sit back for an evening and enjoy one beer instead of many. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got about this. I don't really know too much about the brewery, but I know that the previous beer I had from them, their Trippa, was actually quite tasty. So I've only heard good things.
And isn't it pronounced like Caranahan or?
I don't know. Kuhnhenhen.
Cunahan, is it?
Kuhnhenhen.
Matt knows exactly how to pronounce it.
Delicious. That's how you pronounce it.
Okay,
There we go.
all right. So now,
It's also pronounced expensive.
yeah. All right. So over to Redbeard now. What's your history with? Obviously you really have no history, and you told most of your experience already.
Kind of failed a little bit.
Elaborate a little bit more.
Give you my first impressions of the beer stuff. You can take a look at it there. It's a really nice kind of red color to it. I don't know. It's kind of cool. It smells really. It smells and tastes kind of like a Flanders red. Like it's at that sour kind of fruity, interesting flavor. But yeah, the first time I ever had Blood Brothers was at the first time I went down south to the Albina Reynolds place. Had a couple of them then and enjoyed them, and really I don't think I had anything else by them until the ones that I'm having currently. And I've had some of the best sours I've ever had out of the ones I have currently. So I recommend, if you haven't tried their beer, try their beer.
Did you not get a chance to try that one that I had at the Well and Piss Up?
No,
barrel aged one.
I don't think I tried that one.
No. I supposedly had it. I don't remember it, but
fair enough.
All right, let's move over to Greg.
Hi, Nick.
Kind of, sort of know your history with this beer, but
Let's see, I'm drinking this
let's let you elaborate a little bit more.
I just want to show off that I'm drinking this in proper glassware, and hopefully the glass was clean. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble. So my history with this beer. So the first year this beer came out was in 2013. Now, there was a 2012 version, but it was not called Double Tempest. It was just called Bourbon Barrel Aged Tempest or whatever, and it was super limited. I didn't try it. And I don't think it was quite the same as this, because this is actually brewed. For those of you who don't know, I'll give you a quick explanation. This is brewed for the barrel. This isn't regular Tempest. This is barrel aged. It's a special beer that they've, to my knowledge, never released on its own. They throw in a barrel, and that's part of the reason why it's so good, is because it's really a beer designed to take the barrel. The 2012 one, I think, was just a regular Tempest. They threw in barrels, released a few bottles, and it sold out in like 3 minutes. So I've had this since 2013. I buy many bottles of it. This is a 2015, and to repeat myself, my cellar is full of them all the way to last year's, and there'll be more this year's. Who knows? Maybe I'll get some extras. We can do a beer analysis 101. That depends how cooperative my mules are. So that's my history. It's one of those beers that's really good, and I can pretty much always get it every single year. And it sells out fast, but it doesn't sell so fast that you can't get it. And it's one of my favorite beers, and it's pretty much consistent. Now, I will say, I'm trying to drink my older ones because they say on this that it ages up to 3 years. And whoever wrote that spiel is either just lucky at guessing or he actually knows his shit, because after about 3 years, this beer does sort of start to drop off and you start to lose a lot of the chocolatiness to it. And it becomes a little bit more smooth and boozy, but you're missing out on some of the flavor. And I don't really drink this beer for smoothness. So there's a pro tip: 3 years, and after that, drink them all.
Which is what you're kind of in the process of doing right now.
Yeah, well, I'm finishing off my 2000. This year, I'll be doing my vertical, not all in the same evening, unless Redbeard comes over again. That'll be another shit show. No, I'll do my vertical. I've got one 2015 left, so that'll be done for that year, and then I'll work my way through 2016s, and I'll just try to keep it into 3 years. I mean, I know you guys feel bad for me that I'm going to have to drink all these stouts this season, but I will somehow persevere, and pray for me.
Greg's a trooper.
Right. All right. So let's go over to Matt. What's your history?
Chimay Red is kind of like a long history. I mean, anybody can pretty much find Chimay, especially the blue, but the red can be found. But when I originally got into beer, like in the late '90s, like it was through a Belgian double. Well, a Belgian style double was Maudit. Was the first really good beer I had back in like '98, and when I came back, I kind of gravitated those. So I actually had quite a few of the reds, but I quickly, kind of learned that the blue was kind of a little bit more up my speed, and kind of lost it from there. Kind of just, if I would buy any kind of Chimay, more times than not, unless it was at a restaurant or something like that, I would buy a blue and kind of just stop drinking them. Then several years later, like probably like in the late 2000s, like 8, 9, 10, I started going to a lot of shows in Philly at this place called the Electric Factory, that used to have like music shows and stuff like that all the time. And for some bizarro reason, it was $6 for a Coors Light, it was $7 for a Miller Lite, or it was $8 for a Chimay Red. So, yeah, what are you going to do there? So I drank the shit out of it for a couple of years there until that closed down. And then really just kind of forgot about it again. And then maybe about like 4 or 5 years ago, this restaurant that I meet my friend at every now and then. Oddly enough, he actually asked me to go yesterday. Well, he asked me to go out yesterday for the same kind of thing we used to do. The restaurant has since closed, but we would meet there and eat oysters. I love oysters. And one of the good beers they would have there would be Chimay Red. Not necessarily a beer you'd want to eat with oysters, but for some reason I've kind of connected the two. So it ended up becoming like a dinner beer for me. So if I'm at like a semi-mediocre restaurant, and I say that with like, hashtags or air quotes, whatever you want to call it, mediocre, Chimay tends to be something that you can typically find in a menu here in the United States quite often. So it's one of those kind of like, okay, they don't have really what I want, so I'll go with this. I mean, it's like the most first world problem ever, but that's kind of where it landed for me.
Cool. All right, I'm just going to add Chris back on the stream here. Actually, he's last now because
Across the streams with Chris.
Well, I might as well talk about the beer that I got here tonight. Well, this beer, the brewery's Autumn Maple, was one of the first brewery beers that I'd ever seen show up here in NB liquor stores. Now, we don't get them as much anymore. It was just kind of like a limited thing they did back like 2017, I think. We had a huge promotion with this new craft beer store that opened up in Fredericton. Anyway, so they distributed some of the specialties out towards other stores in the province, one of them being the fall seasonal that year, the brewery. So I've had this bottle since, I think, late 2017. It's been in the cellar ever since. I can't exactly remember what it was going to. I think it was I bought it to either split with people or either way. I just sort of sat around in the cellar and just collected dust for a while. And I figured, hey, it's fall seasonal. It's a 3-year-old aged bottle, and I'm like, hey, this might actually be a good one to drink. Now, I think this beer cost me about $17 Canadian, so it better be good, and it is. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Anyway, I'm gonna hand back over to Lee, who, if you want to read more comments.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Where do we stop? Tiku Murray is in the chat saying no comment, and then he goes on to say the vanilla was only available this year in relation to Chris's beer. Eric Gilbert says, love Blood Brothers. And Ewart says, Blood Brothers, I've only had a couple, but they were great. He then goes on to say, Chimay Red was a keystone beer for me. First beer I ever special ordered at the LCBO. Had to buy a case of Bombers. Still love it, but it's been a minute. Need to revisit. And then he says, Worry Jick will have a snow globe with that one. With your beer, yeah. Or a lava lamp. That's perhaps a better analogy there.
Check. Turn this back to here. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really tell. I'm only halfway through the bottle.
Wow.
What I can tell though is that right now it's not see-through, but I don't see chunks like sparkle chunks or anything.
No fruit salad in there.
So I guess before we get down to our final thoughts, how is everybody enjoying their beers?
Pretty good. I found a little write-up on mine.
It's good.
They teamed up with their friends at Rosewood Winery to complete this season's Fall of Thebes. I guess it's a seasonal thing they do, obviously. They brewed the original version with the blend of Ontario grape skins and tucked them away for just under 2 years in Burgundy barrels. And then they blended it with barrel-aged Saison, Golden Sour, Gamay Noir, and Pinot Noir. So it's a pretty weird beer they made.
There's a whole lot going on in that one.
Expect a funky, full-bodied, juicy beer with notes of Swedish berries, sour plums, cherry oak leather, and a touch of raspberry vinaigrette.
Okay. Let me just say,
I'm actually getting the raspberry vinaigrette, really.
I was just going to say it's really cute how Ewart and Eric Gilbert are finally bonding over mutual love of Blood Brothers in the chat here after these years of animosity, mostly from Ewart's side. Actually, all from Ewart's side.
All from Ewart's side.
Yeah.
No.
No, come on.
It's almost like Ewart's a dick.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Can you imagine them
Europe
walking down?
computers in order to chat on both accounts at the same time, but
No, I mean, like you were asking Nick, what everybody thinking about their beer. Like the biggest thing about like this, and I think this is like everybody kind of goes through this when they drink these kind of beers. Is so a lot of times we forget how good these old and classic beers, not necessarily cellar beers, but beers that you kind of forget nowadays. Like you constantly try new stuff and you're constantly trying other things. And when you go back and have one of these beers that you know you loved in the past, that not that you forgot about, but you just, beer is so hectic nowadays. You go back and have one of these, you appreciate how good beer was and still is. But, it's just, it's great to try these classics and really, really enjoy them for what they are, which is really good fucking beer.
Yep, really good beer. Absolutely. Saw some post on Instagram today, some brewery somewhere making some beer, but it was a blue beer, and they ended up using algae in it to turn it blue. And it's just like, okay, right into the point where they're using like seafood as an adjunct in beer. It's crazy.
Well, that I have actually, there's a local brewery to me that did something similar, and it was more like, it wasn't so much they wanted to use algae, they didn't want to use artificial coloring, so they tried to find whatever they could use that, like, people wouldn't get an uproar about using something artificial.
Yeah, it's funny.
That'd be weird.
Then we put in beers.
Ewart says Aslan Brewing did that blue beer.
Is that okay?
And Eric Gilbert says no bonding here. Redbeard said bondage because he's a pervert. Yeah.
How's that vintage ale going down?
What?
How's that vintage ale going down?
Very, very smooth. 2 years in the cellar. A lot of the like when I first had this, just sort of new. It was already like drinking like a just kind of a punched up bitter, a really good one, like a punched up ESB kind of thing. And I think that's generally what this beer tends to be anyway, because they keep the alcohol down low compared to most sort of vintage ales and old like that. Like this sits at 8.5, and it's just smoothed out. It's a lot creamier. What is it they use for the Denali hops? So there is a bit of a different sort of character to it. It's not your typical sort of like British hop character here. More of a piney kind of thing going on, and the hops have held up fairly well over 2 years in this one. And they still do have like Target and Goldings in it, but you don't really get a lot of that. There's a little bit of a earthy background, but not a lot. It's actually showcasing the American hop in this a lot more. But
That's a great beer.
yeah, it's if you have a complaint about this beer, I don't know why you're drinking beer. Honestly, it's a good one to just sit back with. It's not super exciting. It's not a big bracing barley wine that's going to fuck you up or anything like that. But it's a very nice, well constructed beer anyway. Just about every year that they tend to be.
Nice. You got a random fun game we could kind of play or something. Like if you had the choice, or if the choice is yours, if you didn't have your beer, whose beer amongst the people in the panel would you like to try? Personally, I would go with the one that Chris has. That looks bloody fantastic.
Ooh,
I've heard really, really, really good things about the barrel-aged Rat Queen. I've never tried it myself. That was at the first get-together on the 10th that happened a couple of years ago there. You guys tried that during the live stream and loved it. And to put vanilla in that, yeah.
Didn't we have that one? Didn't we have that one at the bottle share this year?
I think there was a Rat Queen there.
I don't think I tried.
There was a version of Rat Queen there. Maybe it's a different one, but I'm pretty sure Jamie brought it, and it was delicious.
Ashley and his wife are in their house for like half the goddamn bottle shares. Yeah.
I don't think we have had it because according to Teku Muri, he said that that this year it just came out. So I don't know if I'm pretty sure we haven't had this one.
Well, let's play that game. Who wants to start?
I just did. So who's next?
Oh, I meant after you. Okay, obviously.
I'll go with Greg's Double Tempest from wherever that was, or from whatever year that was.
I've heard good things about that one too. Just the vanilla. I don't know, vanilla in a beer when it's done right is bloody glorious.
Yeah, I've only ever. I think I had last year's or maybe the year prior, but nothing older than 2017, I guess, or 2018, whatever it was. But I do remember enjoying it when I had it. So I would.
What about you, Greg?
Sorry, what was the question? I was half paying attention.
What beer from what we have would you like to have?
Can I count my own?
No.
Oh, you have to switch up.
Then I'd go for the Rat Queen because I have had that one. I don't have to. I'm pretty sure it was at Ashley's house, but wherever, and I know that one's delicious, so that would be the one I'd go for.
Nice.
Lee?
I would actually go for your Chimay Red. It's been so long since I've had one, and I've never had one that was aged, so that'd be a nice little treat for me. I'd like that.
And Chris, what do you think?
I would go with what Lee just said with Matt's Chimay Red because I haven't had an aged one either, so it wouldn't be a bad little experiment to try that one for sure.
For Nick, yes. If we forget Nick, is he still around? There he is.
Letting everybody talk. Of all the people that's on here tonight, what beer would I like to have? Well, Ashley's Cunahan really sounds good. I think it was like a barrel aged barley wine, and I took him off the stream so I can take red beer out. Yeah, that's what it was, right? Cunahan barrel aged.
Bourbon barrel aged barley. Yep.
You know, with Cunahan, like I said, their prices are like that. That's like a $12 plus US beer, but yeah, they don't fuck around with their big releases. Their barley wine is fucking fantastic.
See, that one sounds good. The other one that sounds good is actually what Greg is drinking, and Greg is drinking the Double Tempest 2015. I had a chance. He brought up 2014 one time.
Yeah.
Although I think he did say the Double Tempest 2015 wasn't as good as 14.
The 2014
it's also 4 years ago, so.
The 2014 is still the one to beat. And again, I had my last 2014 earlier this summer. It was not as good as it was with a few years of age on it, as opposed to, 5 years of age? It definitely had dropped off a little bit, but that is still the vintage to beat with Double Tempest. And I sort of suspect because they're making bigger batches, there probably will never be an equal to that, but whatever.
Yours says it was $9, not $12, whatever year that was.
Okay, it's still pretty expensive.
Yeah.
That's US, remember, so.
Right.
Matt,
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
that's like $27 Canadian.
yeah, the last thing I was going to say is, of course, the one that Chris is drinking, Barrel Aged Rat Queen's probably going to be the number one. So, yeah, I'm shouting out 3 beers here, but they all sound good, to be honest. I've had vintage 2017 from the Fullers anyway, and Chimay. Well, there may be a reason this is sitting here, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, are we about ready to give our final thoughts on the beers we're drinking?
Matt didn't go.
Oh, Matt didn't go? Oh, well, then Matt's got to go. You go. What do you want? Of all the beers that we're drinking, what would you like to drink?
Probably Redbeard's beer. Only because I've had a bunch of. I mean, if I wanted to like make sure I had the best tasting beer possible, it'd probably be Greg the Double Tempest, because I know how awesome that fucking beer is, because I've had it a couple times and that beer is fucking awesome. Second would probably be Ashley's beer, because I love that beer too. Kunin barley wine is fantastic, and what he has is great. But Redbeard's beer is a beer that I really kind of dig the style and how it's made, but I just haven't had it. So for the sake of the tick culture, I'm just trying that new beer. I would try that beer just because I haven't had it. You know what I mean? That's why I would choose that one.
It's all about the check-in.
Says someone who says me who doesn't use Untapped.
But it's in your mind.
Oh, in my mind, yes. So just for a new experience, which is what life's all about.
Damn right. All right. Now are we ready to do this?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Start with Lee.
All right. So,
Right.
so going purely on style, this sort of sets as they call it their vintage ale. It's basically either old ale or barley wine, kind of somewhere in between their kind of nebulous style at this point in a lot of ways, at least on the British side, seems to be. This is kind of like the easiest drinking barley wine you'll ever find. Like, even just having it fresh, depending on the vintage, it's generally not abrasive. It's generally kind of mild. Like the cool flavors and stuff come out as you age it. And after this sitting for 2 years, yeah, it's got nice complexity to it. It doesn't taste necessarily like a standard British kind of barley wine or whatever, because in the last few years they've been really experimenting with, like, different hop varieties and stuff like that outside of the sort of typical stuff you would generally get in this sort of beer. It's not a world beater or anything like that. I've definitely had better sort of like old ale / barley wine kind of style. I'd sit at about an 8 style wise, and personal enjoyment probably about an 8 as well, because it's just so easy to drink, and it's a good sipper. It's got a lot of nice little flavors going on. It's not blowing me away, but it's you can't deny the craftsmanship behind it. Like, it's a really well constructed beer for what it is. So there you go.
All right. And secure. Okay, good. All right. Oh, hell. What the fuck, for its StreamYard? All right. Let's fuck.
We're
All right, Ash.
There we go. So yeah. Wow, this is a really fucking good beer. I don't really know what this is really fucking good. It's from start to finish, from aroma to the finish on the back end, it's so multi-layered. You get so many subtle nuances that you want to keep on going back sip to sip to sip, but then you sort of have to restrain yourself, because this is like 13-14%, whatever it may be. So I think we're like 30 some odd minutes in, and I think I'm just down to the last half of the bottle now. Going down super smoothly. The aroma, I get the slightest, ever so slight alcohol on the nose, but then you just get this beautiful bouquet of like dark cherries, raisin, plum, slight notes of like I want to say like really dark caramel, And then a lot of those same flavors sort of they come through on the sip as well, but they come in sort of waves as well. You can pick out all of these subtle nuances. From the front, from the tip of the tongue to all the way to the back, you can really pick out all these different flavors. It's just so amazing. And on the sip, as I mentioned on the aroma, you get a little bit of alcohol in the nose, but you get nothing on the sip, not even chest warming whatsoever. It's just so well crafted, so smooth, super decadent. It's sweet, but there's enough bitterness there to balance it out without saying this is a bitter beer. They balance that bitterness and sweetness. I mean, it is on the sweeter side of things, but there's enough bittering there that it's not like too much sweetness. Get tons of sticky lips from it too. So it's I don't know. This is just such a great wine. I was gonna say great wine. So it's such a great barley wine. It's awesome. So thanks again to Ewart for this one. I appreciate it. And I don't know. Again, I haven't had too many barley wines in my life, but I'd say I can't imagine. I'm sure there are ones that are better than this, but in my Rolodex of flavors, this is like 10 out of 10. And I could, if I had more of these, I would drink them. And so I'll give it 10 for personal enjoyment. 10 and 10. This is great.
Nice. All right, let's roll over to that Rolodex over to Mr. Roll Beard.
Thanks for that.
Rolo Red Beard.
Random little thing about the. I'm just looking it up on Wikipedia. Thebes, whatever it is actually. I believe there isn't a city in Egypt. There's also one in Greece, and there was a famous battle where the sacred band of Thebes, the elite military unit, fell to Philip II in 338 BC or something.
Yeah, I should add this. Thebes is one of the great Greek city-states back in the.
So I think that's what the name of it relates to.
Okay, anyway, that makes more sense.
Aside from that, this is it's a style that I'm just not. I haven't had a lot of them. I like it, but it's almost like there's so many flavors going on. My palate is like basically just losing its mind and confused to hell. But for what it is, I think it's a really, really, really good example of the style. Like they put some care and effort. Again, it says like it was aged for like 2 years almost in the barrels, and they mixed all these things together to make this beer. So like Blood Brothers is doing some pretty damn impressive stuff. I want to say this is probably a pretty expensive beer. I think I actually had that open on my if I go right here. Yeah, right there. This is $13 for a bottle. So it's not cheap, but it's pretty damn good. I don't know if I'd buy another one at that price point. And again, with me not loving it, the style, I'd give that probably like a 9 for what they did with it. My overall enjoyment, probably like a 7.5 or something like that. But overall, I wish I could share this with you guys that would probably really actually enjoy this more than I do. But it is what it is.
Cool story, bro. All right, let's move over to Greg.
Oh, hi, Nick. I just want to respond to Ashley real quick before I talk about my thing. Number one, Kunin. I don't know why it is. For some reason, all their beers are crazy sticky lips beers. All their big barrel beers or whatever are crazy sticky lips beer. And I agree with you. The barley wine. Not to start anything here, but in my personal opinion, it makes Thomas Hardy look absolutely amateurish. That one is so good. In fact, when I mentioned my other beers, I forgot that you had that one because that one probably is the best beer here. Other than maybe the Tempest, which is really good too. But now that I've discussed with Ashley, I can't really rate this beer, to be fair. I'm not 100%. I will say that my throat is incredibly sore right now. This beer is incredibly smooth, not any burn whatsoever. I'm mostly getting the bourbon. I get a little bit of the barrel, and I'm getting some of the chocolate. I mean, I'm getting the flavors that are there, but they're just not quite as strong for me as they really should be. And that being said, this beer is probably past its prime, so it's probably a little smoothed out anyway, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I can't give this beer any sort of rating without biasing it. This is one of my 2 favorite beers, this and Bring Out Your Dead, and I was debating which one to bring on today. I have more of this. I only have one to Bring Out Your Dead 15 left, so I don't want to drink that with a cold. So that kind of is what cinched it for me. But honestly, this beer, just rating on a regular basis, this beer is basically a 10 out of 10. Now, I will say it's usually not a 10 out of 10 fresh. Fresh, it usually comes off a little bit hot. But you give this beer 6 months to a year, and this beer to me is a 10 out of 10, both style and personal preference any day of the week. So I'm going to give my very biased, very cold influenced rating. So take that for what you will. But I do love this beer, and this is one of those beers. If I had unlimited budget, I'd probably drink 3 of them a day and then die in like another 2 years or so.
Nice. All right, so moving along, let's go to Matt.
Yeah, I mean, the more I've drank this beer, this is one of the things that like kind of bothers me about beer reviews and that I can't do is that I can't sit down and actually drink beer for an extended period of time. More often than not, I'm kind of jumping from beer to beer. So to sit here and drink one of these over what I would, say an extended period of time, 40 minutes, is kind of lets you know what a beer is all about. And I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's not super impactful. It's not in your face. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things about today's beer world. You know, a lot of new beer people go for impact and worry about showy beers. But the stuff that is nuanced and subtle is what separates the amateurs from the pros. So it's kind of one of those things where, it might not be a beer for everybody, and it's old guard to a point where some people who like newer stuff might go gaga for newer stuff. But it's one of those beers where, if you like actual beer and you understand it, it's one of those beers where you kind of really enjoy it. So for me, this is an absolutely fantastic beer. It showcases what Belgian doubles are supposed to be. So as far as to style, it's almost a 10, probably 9.5, pushing 9.75. Personal enjoyment, maybe a little bit lower, just because there's a little bit of subtle nuance that, for me, other people might not get, but for me, that might work for me in other beers. But in the grand scheme of things, a fantastic beer that, doesn't have to be showy. It just has to be good beer. And, it's great when people appreciate that.
Cool story, bro. All right, I'm going to take Ash out of here, move back to this, and go to Chris, who kind of got out of order because he kind of come back in. But we're getting to you. What do you think? What's your thoughts? Come on.
First of all, I want to thank Jamie for giving me this beer. This was fucking top notch for this guy. You know what? I can't praise this guy enough. What to say about this beer? Well, it's almost perfect. To be honest with you, this is an Imperial Stout at 11.5%. That's giving you everything that you want. You got the dark fruits, you get the chocolate, you're getting the vanilla. It's just the vanilla version. It's barrel aged. You're getting that high alcohol without the alcohol burn or the chest warming at all. Actually, that's kind of a lie. Once I first poured it and took a sip right away, there was a little bit of that alcohol astringency coming through. But once you let it sit and let it air out, all that just disappears. And this is just fantastic. I cannot believe that I haven't had more and more of these beers in my life. And because they're up in Cambridge, I'm going to go up and probably pick up a whole bunch more at some point soon, hopefully. And, well, we'll see what they have anyway in stock before I even get up there, because apparently Barn Cat's a pain in the ass to get into. So let's talk about the style on this one. This is almost perfect. I'm going to give this for style a 9.75 and for personal enjoyment 9.75. And the reason it's not a perfect 10 is for the same reason for both. It's because the actual body of this beer isn't as full as I was hoping it would be. It's just under full body. It's very high medium body on this one. I was kind of hoping this would be super like syrup, but it's not. It's close to it, but it's not. It's giving me all that sticky lips. It's giving me the wonderful flavors. I mean, this is just almost absolutely perfect in my world. And you know what? That's what I gotta say. It's awesome. And thanks again, Jamie. I mean, I can't pay you back for this one, because I don't know if you got any more, but if you do, send me some more. Thanks.
Word. All right, so my turn to talk about the beer that I've got, and I got to say that When it comes to like aging maple beers, I've not had good luck. Most of the maple beers that I've had have just gone like right south, like after even a couple of months, or just, even if you leave it outside the fridge for like a couple of days, it'll go vinegar. This thing, for 3-year-old cellar aged maple beer, held up gorgeously. This thing aged really well. I hear an echo. Shut up, Greg. Anyway. Yeah, so I got to say that as far as especially one that's it's a maple yam beer. I mean, I've never had yams before. From what I hear described, they're very similar, like in the flavor to pumpkin. But this thing is much like similar to a pumpkin beer, but it's much dialed back. And it's not necessarily like pumpkin pie. I get all kinds of I get the clove and I get the cinnamon coming out of this thing, but it also blends nicely into this really smooth, creamy, like a Belgian brown ale, like if I was to compare this to like Left Bruin, this thing kicks that brewer's ass because this is got this nice like drying finish on the tip of the tongue, but it's still sweet in the middle. Goes down very smooth. You get the molasses, the brown sugar, a little bit of the maple, with the maple's largely gone, and the yams, the fruit or the fruit or vegetable, whatever they add to it, doesn't overpower or take away like some of the pumpkin beers do. So this thing actually really works well. It's nicely spicy. It's a bold, easy drinking, and I can't believe how smooth it is. A little bit warming, but I can't believe it how smooth this thing is for such a strong beer. But and something this spicy, it kind of reminds me of like maybe not quite as like deep and dark fruits, chocolatey as like a winter warmer is, but it reminds me of a winter warmer in the fall, made with fall ingredients. But I think that especially after 3 years of age, this thing here has held up wonderfully. It's probably at its prime, although I haven't had it fresh, so I can't really say 100% for sure. But at the same time, I think that this thing is really well made, really well done, and I'd have to give that at least a 9.25. That's for my overall enjoyment on this thing. This is just really fantastic.
The fact that the maple didn't turn after 3 years is just amazing on itself. That's
well,
really good.
It's that was pretty much like the brewery Patrick's, like kind of his version of his pumpkin ale without being a pumpkin bitch. You know what I mean? And you can kind of get it in the beer, and it just works so well. It works so much better because it's not heavy-handed enough spices, but it still reminds you of fall, which is what you want a pumpkin beer to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like essentially it's just supposed to be like a harvest ale of some sort. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be pumpkins, right? Like,
yeah, and the use of the yams kind of gives it that harvest kind of pumpkin-y kind of flavor without actually being overpoweringly pumpkin.
Because I can remember here in Nova Scotia, there was a little brief period where like the style harvest ale was thrown around, and it was there was a couple of them that were actually pretty good, but then it was just like, oh yeah, we grow our own hops. Here's our harvest ale. Like fuck off, just go away.
Because it's wet hopped.
We want to go back to comments then, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so Ewart says all the beers sound great except Nick's. And and Greg's in here saying Ewart, stop Nick shaming Nick. Eric Gilbert says, "What's next week's LCBO aged hazy?" We'll save that for the end. Ewart says, "I actually prefer the non-vanilla version of Rat Queen, but the vanilla was still great." And then there's a question of whether it will physics or not. And Chris is probably going to test that, I'm guessing. And Ewart says, I too am on a first name basis with the Brewers owners of whatever. So, yeah. I don't know. I lost track of what he was talking about. I mean, I usually sort of zone out when Ewart's talking about stuff, whether it's in text form or vocally.
He's making fun of me.
Oh, okay. Well, then Ewart, you should just shut up. But what is our next haze bro fucking beer?
Beer is, well, It's kind of already been,
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I thought tonight's was. I'm an asshole.
Yeah. Well, here we'll go get Matt to introduce it then.
Chimay Red. Next week. Enjoy it. I already did. Copper glass.
Yeah. You kind of. We're gonna do Chimay Red next week. You can get it at the LCBO, so all the guys here can get it. I've got his bottle sitting here. I'm gonna try and get it up to Moncton where I can buy a fresher bottle for the episode next week. On the weekend, but the episode's not on the weekend, but I'm going up there on the weekend, whatever. So yeah, we're gonna do Chimay Red, and what the idea was is that we want to do something super special for the 101st episode because I forgot all about the 100th. But considering this is Beer Analysis 101, let's do episode 101 on something super special. So we're gonna do Chimay Rouge. I'm holding in my hand. I think this is a 2015 bottle, so it's.
If I can, I'll try to get like a super fucking crazy bonkers old one just to do alongside you guys, just to kind of see the difference of it. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know. I actually thought this was that episode, so I apologize.
What else did
We gotta read it.
I hope I can get it. I think I get it.
Well, either way, like I'm actually surprised you didn't take this beer tonight and then save it and then pull something out of your cellar.
I didn't know it. I didn't know this was this till we actually went on air. Like, like I'm sitting here like, oh fuck, everybody's pulling out all these other beers. I'm like, I'm fucking asshole. Like I thought I was going to be a team player here. So that's what I mean. Like because I was hustling to get on air, and I wasn't like reading. I scrolled through and it's like someone's like Chimay Red, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, that's the one. I'm an asshole. Is basically what I'm saying.
No, I mean to be fair, it's like there's a lot of bullshit on that chat. It's like you scroll through, you get some keywords thrown in here and there, then you get like a chick getting naked and singing and
all the nudes from Greg and Lee.
So I'll find something fun.
All right. Well, I mean, all things considered, the beer you did bring tonight was a 2-year-old age bottle of Chimay, right?
Yep.
And that still qualifies. I mean, shit. I'm sitting here. My next week's beer is going to be a cellar aged version of this.
Yeah, but I mean, try to bring something maybe that is different than what I brought that will still, apply to what you're doing. We'll see.
Well, I think tonight's episode kind of turned out pretty well, actually, considering we had a lot of fun doing this, and it was rather like doing beer analysis than anyway.
I think for once we're not sad at the end of it because we had to drink a shitty beer.
We're not sad. It's like, we're not sad. Almost like having that hangover of regret when we realized we gave a shitty beer 8 out of 10.
Mostly what we
MGD.
what we did was basically one of those wild card Wednesdays, just under a different name and way better with less racism and dummies who can't work the computers.
You know what? I think there was no racism.
Which is less than some.
I don't know. Wait. What's the beer you had, Chris?
Chris had the barrel.
I had the barrel aged Rat Queen.
Rat Queen sounds like a slur to me. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus, racist.
The rat isn't.
You had to go there now.
Color.
You're doing so well.
Well, but at the same time, double tempest. That sounds like a sexual euphemism. Like I gave her the double tempest, and she never called me again. Like
nothing wrong with that, though.
No.
Who cares?
No.
The Cunahan sounds like some sort of sexual position.
Oh, the Cunahan sounds like an an exam. Like, are you sure you're ready for the Cunahan? Like that's like full like cat and first fist.
It's like they give you the shocker with a fucking hoof from a fucking cow or something like.
The cattle prod.
Wait, that's Tuesday.
The fall of Thebes could be a little bit of innuendo-y.
Yeah, it's like
Double tempest, like double penetration with a little bit of spinning.
Oh, Jesus.
What the fuck? I almost had some
And Greg's
people in there at StreamYard. What the fuck? Make this work.
Yeah, they're dicks. Like, what?
You just proved that this system can actually fucking do it because I almost had 7 people on here.
You can almost
you can fit 3 more in the bottom, man. If you do everything up.
This is fucking stupid.
Yeah, you know, once they realize that they're not going to be able to bilk a bunch of people for their like $20 subscription a month fee or whatever the fucking bullshit, and they just make it free for everybody, then you'll have the 9 people because they'll just like, I give up. I'm sure that will happen at some point.
Yeah, they'll give up and they'll be
I was
like,
about to
okay,
comment
we'll
on
get
how,
one person on.
We look like one of those pictures you move around until you get the picture right. When Nick does that kind of thing, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We're a Rubik's Cube. Look at us go.
Oh, I could just drink this all night. Damn.
Yeah, I know. I'm just grabbing and trying to.
Well, I'm still milking this fucking thing now. I don't even want it to end.
We might as well turn this to the after chat then.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Somehow glitched in it.
We're gonna
The system.
probably run into similar issues with the after chat. Too,
You're at Rat Queen. She from Alberta, Jordan's mom.
oh, I just want to point out puppy.
Yes.
Oh, there's the one that's not stuffed. That's good.
No, this is the real one.
It's moving. It's a puppet.
He's got a taste for my toes.
Yeah, the only thing stuffed is his nose.
No, we fixed that. He had his antibiotics, and now he's all better now ish.
Oh, cool.
What's his name?
This is Arnold, named after the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, who he one day will be big and tough.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. He also can't speak English very well. Yeah, he's also a bulldog, so he's already had 3 illnesses. We've only had him for a week, and we look forward to a long life of vet bills.
How old?
He is about 12 weeks right now.
I have a 16-week right now, man. It's fucking insane.
What kind?
Australian cattle dog mix.
Okay, yeah, they're fucking nutcases.
Oh
And,
yeah.
Also, anything he can get his jaws on, he will. He was chewing my $300 headphones today. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, nice of you."
It's fucking awesome and horrible at the same time. It's fantastic.
Yours says Greg caught whatever dog he naturally has, and then he goes, "Get us a chopper!"
That's probably it. Also, he bit my wife's nipple yesterday, so there's something.
Well, that's common, man. I got like me and my wife nipples are like constant like protection mode because it's like, hey, I got a nurse and be like, no, some bitch.
All right, yeah.
Before we go, I just gotta show off the beer that I was gonna drink if this beer was infected.
I love that beer.
Hard 6 glass quadruple, which also showed up, I think, a couple of years ago, and it actually says Best Buy date October 2019.
So it's one of the
Get after that beer, then, man. You better drink that now.
Yeah, I did.
one of the best American-born quads. That
Yeah?
Schlafly and a couple other American-born quads. That's so good.
Do
So
a review,
Nick-
a live review thing on the after chat.
Why do you think he's infected?
Oh, well, I was thinking that the brewery would be infected because maple,
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. Yeah,
but it wasn't. I'm
yeah,
amazed
'cause maple. Yeah.
this brewery gets a couple extra points for me just because it's maple and not fucked up after 3 years. This is awesome. Anyway, I think we need to go to the after chat. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank everybody for coming on. We got, of course, we got Lee on StreamYard.
Don't do that. No,
Mr.
don't.
Ash,
Oh, Mr. Sexyton,
Greg.
Mr. Sexbeard, Mr. Greg Beard, Greg No Beard, actually.
It's like at the end of
We got Chris here, who's giving.
this is like at the end of Animal House where they show the credits and they tell you a little spiel of what happened to everybody, and at the end.
This is where they are now.
I feel Lizak will be some sort of feminist rights protester.
It's like
Greg fell off his balcony 3 years later.
That's totally accurate. That will happen at some point.
Drunk off of 16 double tempests in one night.
Mm.
Lee Russell, he met a redhead and ended up having 16 children with her because he barebacks her all the time.
Wow.
No, I use protection. I'm
Jesus.
sorry. There's no way I'm having kids. I'm not going to do that to the
Ashley
world.
Sexton's already got the perfect life, so he's going to keep drinking and keep living on.
There we go. That's great.
Yeah, right. Redbeard built the biggest bong of all time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now he said he smokes weed plants the size of trees every time he gets a puff. And Massive Beer Reviews now has the Cellar the size of a Walmart, and has like the corner of the market on aged beers throughout the world. And
Also, fingernails are shockingly clean.
Trunk aged water. Thank you very much.
What?
Trunk age water. You
Trunk
forget
age-
that song? Yeah, we used to. You don't remember
Oh,
the
yeah.
trunk age water?
God. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Nick thought you said Trump aged water.
Well, I was going to add Chris here because Chris is no longer off the 10th. He's back on the 15th.
What?
Look for more reviews with Chris and his niece, who we hope is
You almost made it.
LB.
You almost made it. Almost.
All right. I mean, thank you for watching. Yeah. Cheers.
Send the link.
Bye, everybody.
Oh.
Penis.